Let's start right away. I am Lina Acosta Sandaal. I am the owner and founder of Stop Parenting Alone, which is a parenting education and parenting consultation program that I have put together so that I can do what I believe is the truth, which is when parents, teachers, caregivers get the right information, they always make the right choices for the children. So I am here to give you information so that you can make the right choices for your individual child. And like T. Barry Brazelton used to say, he was like America's pediatrician, you, parent, you, caregiver, are the expert on your child. So it is important to get used to getting expertise from those of us that have done, the master's program or the PhD program, but the final decision should be yours. So let me start right away. And I'm going to share my screen so you can see, so you can visualize the pain points, the pain points that I imagine that you are having with your 6 to 11-year-olds, right? So for a lot of you, especially those of you that have children between kindergarten and third grade, you are getting tons of information, or you are watching, when you have been able to kind of increase your bubble now in pandemic times, you are watching your child interacting with other children. And for some of you, you are completely appalled by it. For some of you, you feel bad for your baby. And for some of you, you're like wondering, what in the world is happening, right? So first and foremost, I said it's a pain point because it's probably a developmental marker. So kindergarten all the way to third grade, children are practicing and mastering one of the core competencies, right, that we want of social emotional development, which is the ability to have social skills and social awareness, right? So, and when I say they are practicing and mastering, it's exactly like when they were practicing and mastering walking, right? So when they mess up with friends, when they are rude, when they push them, when they don't know what to say, when they're shy, it's just like when they were learning to walk, when they were, tiny and they would fall on their butt. You would never punish them. You would never scream at them. You would never tell them, why are you being so shy? You would say to them, you would help them take that step. So the same applies for friendship, right? So for those of you that are raising your hand, I answer questions at the end. So just hold that question in mind for me. Okay. So it's in this age group, you constantly see, sorry, the screen is messing up. So in this age group, you constantly hear them tell you, I don't have any friends, or they're being mean to me, or some other version of that. Know that that is them falling, like when they were learning to walk. So what is the task of you, parent, for that kindergartner, first grader, second grader, third grader? Well, to help them understand friendship and the rules of friendship, and to give them ideas to try when they are with children. Please, when they're in your home and they're playing with one another, try not to intervene. Listen. Listen to the mistake that they were making, just like you used to watch them when they were walking. The little children will figure it out, and it will sound hard, harsh. No, stop it. You're stupid. It will sound harsh because they are practicing and mastering social skills and social norms. And to you're stupid, the response to that, hey guys, find a different way to talk to one another, but stay out of it. Listen. And then, if you happen to be at a park, social distancing and playing with other children, when you get in the car is when you have a conversation with them. Hey, I noticed that when Charlie called you mean names, you didn't walk away and you stayed there. What were you thinking? And start asking questions. When a child is mastering or practicing a skill, the more questions that you ask them about what were you thinking, why did you make that choice, and letting them know that they're not in trouble, the more that they will integrate the lesson. If you're just talking at them and telling them that is a mean kid and I don't want you playing with them, you're not allowing them to practice. It's as if when the first time that they tried to walk and they fell and you said, okay, that's it, we're not walking anymore. It's the same difference. Now, for some of you, this is an incredibly triggering situation, and the reason why and why you weren't triggered when they were 0 to 5 years old is that you actually have your own childhood memory. You actually have your own, like, emotional response from when you were 5, 6, 7, 8, which doesn't happen to us. For we don't have memories. We don't have a lot of memories from 0 to 5. That's why what's happening to our child doesn't become so personal. So the second thing that I want you guys to remember is that if you are taking it personal when a child says something mean to your child, or if you are hurt by it, or if you find that you want to protect your child, know that that's really that tiny 6 year old inside of you, that tiny 8 year old inside of you that is feeling that strong emotion. I need you to stop, breathe, and remember they are all children. They are all making mistakes and falling in how to be social in a gathering. So I want everybody, when you hear your child tell you stories about friendship, to you don't have to protect them from other children. You just have to teach them how to finish those circles of connection and those circles, those social circles. There is a blog on my website that talks about, why are they telling you that they don't have friends. Go to stopparentingalone.com, go to the blog area, in the search put why are they telling you they don't have friends, and it will pop up, or just scroll through it. There's a lot of good blogs, and I kind of break it down. But remember why they're having trouble with friendships. It's not because they're girls and they're catty. I really absolutely hate those articles on all the parenting blogs. It's not because they're bullies. It's because they are all learning how to be social. So for you, parent, your task is to tell your 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 year old, hey, listen, there are 3 things that you can do when you're having an interaction with another child. Talk to them, try to communicate. If they're having a hard time listening because they're stuck on an idea or they're using mean words to you, walk away and find another friend. And if those first 2 don't work, find an adult to assist you. But remember, stop intervening, start listening, and start wondering with your child why they made the choices that they made. Now, number 2, I was thinking that next week we have Thanksgiving. Besides all of us having a completely different Thanksgiving this year than we've had before, since we are in pandemic times and the numbers are rising in Miami-Dade County. I know that one aspect of Thanksgiving, all of you each as families are going to have to explain to your children your choices, whether you gather or whether you don't gather, because on both of these aspects, if you gather together in a big group, your child is paying attention to the news, and especially if they're 9 and older, so they may think that you're making a mistake, because in some news outlets they are saying that there shouldn't be large gatherings. So please be mindful to have the answer for your child, because this age group is all about good and bad, black and white, right and wrong. So whatever choice you are making for your Thanksgiving, if you if you if you celebrated, because when I was growing up, in a Colombian household, and my parents were like, ¿qué es eso? Eso es una fiesta de americanos, right? So those of you that are doing Thanksgiving, make sure that you're very, very clear with your children, the choice that you made, whether you are just staying your own little tiny family and maybe zooming with your family, or whether you are gathering. Both of these scenarios have a lot of opinions and a lot of information out in the world, and know that your children have ears and they've heard it. And those of you that keep CNN on or Telemundo on in the background, they for sure have heard the debate. So please make sure that you know why you're making the choice that you're making, whether you're gathering or not, and that you can explain it to this age group in particular. Now, the division of responsibility in eating came into mind because for some of you, you don't know this rule. Now, this comes from the division of responsibility. It's called the DOR. It is based on a lot of research. The person that named it, that used the name division of responsibility, is called Satter, Satter. But she came upon it based on a lot of research that is out there around disordered eating and eating disorders. And because Thanksgiving is coming up, and for a lot of you, some of you have picky eaters, some of you have overeaters, some of you have just regular old eaters. I wanted, it popped into mind something that's important, and it's important to kind of seal the deal before the adolescent years. So what is the division of responsibility as it pertains to eating? Well, the parent chooses what is going to be eaten, when it is going to be eaten, and where it is going to be eaten. So the 3 W's: what will be eaten, where, when. The child chooses if they eat and how much they eat. That's it. And for a lot of you, your brain just went, right? So at the Thanksgiving meal, maybe you're going to put out vegetables that your children don't necessarily like. Maybe you're going to put out, you have to remember that that's the what's on the table, what you are offering, what you buy at the grocery store and have in your refrigerator and in your food pantry is up to you, parent, not the child, right? So if your child wants Hershey's Kisses, you decide if you're going to have Hershey's Kisses in the pantry, or you're just going to buy them as a treat when you walk out of the Walmart, right? And when is the most important one of the 3 W's: what, when, where. Most human beings should eat or put something in their mouth, but especially children, every 2.5 to 3 hours, right? So for those of you guys that have that child that eats when they're bored, or just eats uncontrollably, that's where you have to kind of set a boundary, where you say, okay, buddy, we are going to eat every 2.5 to 3 hours, but in between, we just have water, right? So because some of you have that constant snacker, you know why they're not having dinner? Because they're full, especially if they've been snacking throughout the day and snacking on the things that they love, like whatever, pirate booty. So be mindful that you are offering food to children every 2.5 to 3 hours, and that it's part of your set routine. And the where, now this is more important for parents of very young children, children 6 and younger, because, once you get to 7, you kind of already, if you haven't made it a purpose of the where, if you've been eating in front of the TV, that's where they're going to eat. But those of you that have younger children and you want to go to a restaurant and you want them to be civilized in a restaurant, make sure that you are practicing sitting at a table, using utensils, being respectful. Children and human beings, we create a habit out of like our experiences, right? So it's experience dependent. So if you have not eaten at the table with utensils and napkins a lot of the time, and then they're eating messy and with their hands at the Thanksgiving dinner, that's because they haven't practiced it. So now you have from this year to next year to practice. If don't fight with them, don't tell them one more bite, don't tell them finish that plate or else you can't have dessert. Do not do that. They choose how much and if they eat. And that's true at Thanksgiving, and that's true at all of their meals. And make sure that you're offering food or a snack every 2.5 to 3 hours. And do not buy anything or offer anything that you don't want your child to eat. Okay, that moves on because I just gave you like for some of you, keeping those rules and boundaries with your children, whether it's about food or whether it's about friendship or whether it's about screens, that puts us into rules, boundaries, and limits. Now, this age group has two different versions, right? That kind of get split between 5 and 8 and between 9 and 11. So let me talk about 9 and 11 first, because it's a little bit harder. For some, in maybe 10 years ago, tween became a popular term of calling the 10 to 12-year-old. And I think that the term got popular because there's a big shift in development between 9 and 12. The big shift is that between 9 and 12, children start practicing, keyword again, just like when they were learning to walk, right? Practicing and mastering how to set boundaries as a form of independence and autonomy, right? Between 9 and 12, right? Like between 13 and forward, they are independent. They are thinking for themselves. They are questioning every value, every rule, every concept, right? As they should, so that they can wonder, do I believe that? And am I going to do that as an adult? But between 9 and 12, it's the first time when they begin to kind of push back on you and your boundaries and your ideas. And they're pushing back not to be, oppositional or mean, but to practice autonomy, to practice boundary setting. So if you tell your child, all right, it's time to get off the screen because we're gonna have dinner in 30 minutes, they're like, no, that's awful. You can say, okay, I see how frustrated you are about this rule. Today we're gonna follow it, but let's have a discussion about it, right? So I can understand where you're coming from and you can understand where I'm coming from. So in the 9 to 11-year-old, remember, they're practicing and mastering the skill of setting boundaries to increment their autonomy and their independence. Teach them how to speak to you, right? Stop telling them, stop knocking them down. Stop telling them, you are being disrespectful, and saying, whoa, okay, I hear that you're trying to set a boundary with me, but these are the rules. Now, when, and this is true of the entire age group, 5 to 11, when you give a rule, this is the age group that we tell them why we have the rule. And the best way to explain a rule is that what is the value that you are trying to teach them based on your boundary and your rule. So for example, we always eat dinner together at the table. Why? They're all asking you. They're asking you for a reason, because the school-age child is a learner. They are putting all the information of the world into buckets of information. So they want to understand, why in the world do we eat together at the table? Well, you could say, well, our family, one of our values is to have family cohesiveness, for us to be together. And that's why we make it a point to have family dinners. Our family believes in communication, and that's why we make sure that we have a family dinner. If your rule does not have a value that you are teaching your children, it may be a vapid rule, and it may be why you and your child can't keep to it. Right? If you're there is so so that way you give them the why. But why can't I play screen time for 100 hours? Well, because our family believes in health and safety. And I know that more than 2 hours a day is not recommended by the pediatricians of the United States. So that's why I have this rule. You are not being weak. You are not being less than. You are being respectful to yourself and the values that you are teaching your child, as well as your child, by giving them the information of the why. Here's the other reason why your children may not be following your rules, your boundaries, and your limits. Like I already said, one, because they don't understand why the rule is there. They just think you're being mean. And it feels mean because we, the parent, usually take away the pleasure of the child. And that's why they tell you you're being mean, because you are, by definition, you're being mean, right? But you're being mean because you are trying to teach them a value and a life skill. And sometimes when we're learning values and life skills, it doesn't feel good, right? So that goal that you have, that everybody should be peaceful and happy, is a really bad parenting goal. Your child can't be peaceful and happy 100% of the time with you when you are constantly removing their pleasures. And why are you constantly removing their pleasures? Because you're a good parent teaching them about health and safety and responsibility. Now, a lot of you get overwhelmed, angry, or frozen by your children's emotional response to your boundary. Your boundary removing their pleasure of screen, friends, snacks and food, and then you give in or debate or not stick to, we do this because we believe in, and that's it, right? And just because you say we do this because I only let you use your screen for an hour during the week because I believe in health and safety and I know that that's what's healthy for your brain. Now you are done. Their response of like, no, why? You don't have to do anything with that. That is not behavior. That is emotion. You have to take a close look at yourself in your own little parent mirror and go, wow, I hate being in conflict with somebody I love. But remember, you're not in conflict with your child. That child is pushing back on your boundary and your rule. And if you're clear on the value behind your rule and the reason behind your rule, it's okay if they're disappointed and frustrated that they have to stop their pleasure, whether it's the pleasure of a snack, the pleasure of the screen, the pleasure of roughhousing with their younger brother. Okay, so that is why you're having such a hard time with rules, boundaries, and limits. If you keep giving in, if you keep negotiating, and if your rule is wishy-washy, nobody has to follow them because they're pushing back on feeling frustration, disappointment, and sadness. And you may be either too frozen or too mean about keeping the rule. And finally, gratitude. So I'm going to drink a little tea before I answer this one. A lot of you are worried that you are raising entitled children because they're not grateful for what they have, because you don't see them, thanking you for what you do for them, or because especially the 5, 6, and 7-year-olds, because they complain that you finally figured out how to take them to the botanical gardens during a pandemic and they are complaining while they're there because it's hot and because a mosquito bit them, right? So that's not the way that gratitude is built. And gratitude from children, especially in this age group, does not look like, thank you so much, mommy, you're so sweet to me. It looks like them pushing you to stay with them a little bit longer at bedtime, because that's gratitude and love. That's them needing your circle of connection. It looks like them drawing a picture at school when the teacher told them to draw something for a family member, and them coming home and showing you that picture. That's gratitude. And if you want to build the skill of being grateful, just add it to either the dinner conversation if you're having dinner, or a meal conversation. Choose a meal that you have together often, or bedtime, right, where you can tell your child, hey, let's think about what we are thankful and grateful for. And if they say, I'm grateful for lunch and I'm grateful for my friends, but they don't include you, pat yourself on the back, because your children expect your children, it's not an expectation. They feel safe and connected to you. uh, and the food that you're serving them, the bed that they're sleeping in, is in their little mind. That's what you do. You're their parent. It's not something to be grateful for. That gratitude of the things that you bought them, and the opportunities that you gave them, and the bed that they sleep in, they will thank you when they're 20, when they're older. This age group does not have the cognition to thank you for the food that you gave them, unless you make that, maybe those of you that are religious, get into the habit of saying grace before you eat, and thanking the divine for the food that's on your plate. Or those of you that are not religious, you can teach children, how do you imagine that the lettuce got into our salad bowl? Well, there, let's, how did it was at the supermarket. Uh-huh. So let's thank all the people at the supermarket that brought the lettuce, right? So teach them, because they don't do it naturally, not because they're entitled, but because they don't know, especially what you do for them. Because in their child mind, you're the parent. You're supposed to give them food, you're supposed to give them a bed, you're supposed to take care of them. That's your job. So they don't thank you for it. They're not supposed to. Parenting is a one-sided relationship. It is the only healthy codependent relationship, and the child depends on us. Wait until they're 20, 30, 40 for the wholehearted gratitude for what you've done for them. And enjoy those little tiny moments, like asking you to stay a little bit longer at bedtime, to see that they do love you and they do need you. And this Thanksgiving, when you're done with the meal and you're done with the prep and you're done with all the BS, sit down on the ground. Don't ask any questions. Just sit, watch, and listen to your children. No parenting, no parenting lesson. Just enjoy them and notice how they love you. And then you will feel grateful. Okay, now we have 30 minutes left over. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to give opportunities for those of you that have asked the questions in the Q&A, and those of you that have raised your hand to ask me a question. So let's start here with the person that wants to ask live. What is your question for today? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Thais, go ahead and unmute yourself. Are you there? Hi. Okay, I'll come back to you. I'll come back. So let me answer one question that's here. Have you ever confronted 7-year-olds choking themselves in response to stressful experiences? Okay, there are different versions of this. And so some children will hit themselves in the head. Some children will go, grab their throat. Some children will, scratch themselves or scratch their chest. And that is always a sign that they're overwhelmed with what they are feeling. You see, the brain does a nasty thing, which the fastest way to end emotional pain is to give the body physical pain. And for some children, when they get overwhelmed by emotion, by chance they discover that if they do this, the emotion kind of settles down and it becomes a really bad habit. So if a little person is, either choking themselves, hitting themselves, scratching themselves, or if you have an older child, that's where cutting, the the habit of cutting comes from. Cutting is not about suicide. Cutting is about releasing stress and managing overwhelming emotion, right? And it can become very, very addictive if a child is doing that. First, in your day to day, when they do that, assist them and say, I can't let you hurt yourself. And talk to them about what they're feeling. You're very, very scared. You're very, very disappointed. You're very, very frustrated. But you can't hurt your body to feel better. So you have to make it awake and aware. But if a child is hitting themselves or scratching themselves or cutting themselves or choking themselves, and you try this of like naming it and telling them you're hurting your body so you don't have to feel the emotion, so you don't have to feel, because the thing is also that feelings are mixed with cognition, what we think, and somatic responses, what we feel in our body, our physical sensations, right? So for some children, the choking or the hitting or the scratching is also a response to the overwhelming somatic physical response to the emotion. So besides letting them know, I can't let you hurt your body so you don't have to feel the feeling, you also have to tell them, I know that your heart is beating really fast and I know that your ears are ringing. So start talking to your children about what they're feeling in their body so that they don't have to hurt their body to calm down. And if it's been 1 or 2 months that they've been doing this behavior, I do highly recommend getting an evaluation from a play therapist or from a therapist that is well versed in mood shifts in young children. Okay, so the next question that's here, and the next question that's here. How can I help how can I help my daughter not get frustrated so much? I notice she gets mad very easily. She goes from 0 to 100 for even little things. Okay, so it depends on how old your child is. So children between the ages of 5 and 8, and children 11 and up get frustrated. Another, so social emotional competency that I want them to have when they're 24 years old is self-management and self-awareness, right? But they don't have that till they're 20 to 24 years old, right? So right now, one more time, what I said earlier, they are practicing and mastering the ability to tolerate frustration. Tolerating frustration is one of the most important skills to have. And why your child is easily frustrated is because it's developmentally appropriate, right? So if they're doing homework and they can't answer the question, they're like, oh, I can't answer this. Please don't tell them, no, it's okay. It's not a big deal. Do not say that. The worst thing that you can do is to say it's not a big deal and or judge what they are feeling. Get out of the debate in your head of whether or not what they're feeling is appropriate to what is happening. Feelings are not fact. Feelings need not be judged. Feelings need to be managed. So when your child is upset about homework, losing at Monopoly, the way that you're putting their ponytail on their head, you have to say, yes, it's really frustrating and it's really scary. It's really frustrating and I see that you're also embarrassed that you have tried this math problem and you haven't figured it out. Always go yes, because it is frustrating that I can't figure out the math. It is annoying that you're pulling at my head while you're trying to do a ponytail. It is sad that I have to stop playing with my screen, even though you tell me every single day. So, so your goal that I see in your question of not getting frustrated is a bad goal. she's going to get frustrated because just like when she was learning to walk, she's managing that emotion. So the best thing to say is, yes, you're really frustrated, and then fill in the blank of why. But let's calm down your shoulders, let's loosen your jaw, let's wait until the tears go, and then we can go back to the math. And repeat and remind, repeat and remind, repeat and remind, because anything worthwhile, a test, a performance, a job interview, a big proposal that you're working on when you're in a career person in your 30s, you have to tolerate the frustration of the work, the fear, and the ability or inability to be able to do the work. Okay, so hopefully that answered your question. Okay, the next question is, would you please recommend some books for parents to read for this age group? Any book written by Dan Siegel and Tina Bryson is a good book. So they wrote several books together. There's a series that starts with Whole Brain Child. The second book is No Drama Discipline. And the last two books is The Yes Brain. And then they have another one. So of all of them, I would recommend No Drama Discipline and Yes Brain. Those are like my go-to books. They're amazing. They really kind of help you think through, your child from the lens of what are they feeling, what are they thinking, what are they imagining. So those would be the books that I recommend. Okay, any other questions? We still have like 10 more minutes or so. If anybody wants to raise their hand. Okay, go ahead and ask your question. Hello, hello.
Hi, what's the other author that you said? It was Dan Siegel and?
They have books together. Her name is Lina Bryson, Bryson. So they have 4 books together. So that's
perfect.
The name of the author.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so somebody's asking, could you recommend a specialist for the choking issue? I would say, the place where it could be the fastest at this time is the University of Miami's Mood and Anxiety Clinic. So University of Miami's Mood and Anxiety Clinic, they have several great therapists. They have a lot of good clinicians that are working, and they've done a pretty good job with telehealth at this time. Also, I can that would be like kind of like my first call. Start there, because sometimes when a child has discovered a way to hurt their body to calm down their emotional being, then it's important to be able to have a specialist in mood, because a lot of children that have found hurting their body to calm down, it's because they are feeling some sense of anxiety. Okay, so the next question, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask me your question.
Hi.
Hi.
We're having a little trouble formulating the question, so we'll tell you what's happening. Our daughter is in virtual learning, and she began playing this game in which she met somebody and she made a connection. They were playing every day together, and we allowed her. Now, she hasn't met with that person in about 3 weeks. She is devastated. She socialize in other ways, but she's hung up on for this person. And now she sneaking that game in between classes. Actually, during class, we never had that problem before, and it's been about 3 weeks.
Mhm.
So we tell her, yes, it's frustrating, it's sad, but it doesn't end. So what can we do to help her understand, what to do and what's happening?
Okay, so I'm hearing two questions, so I'm going to answer the one that I understand clearly. Um, so she found a friend online, and she wants to play with this friend online 100% of the time. So that's back to what I was talking about when I was presenting in the beginning. Like she I know that she's under 8, right? She's under 8 still, right?
She's only 9,
Okay, so
but the friend
what she
disappeared.
sorry.
The friend disappeared. It's been about 3 weeks that she hasn't seen the friend anymore. She doesn't
Oh,
know this.
oh, okay. Oh, got it. Okay, so it's letting her know it's just repeating and reminding, and for the next 3 weeks, and she's showing you that she can't control her impulse to seek them, to have her within eyesight to help her manage that impulse control to check, right? And to let her know that, and to let her know that she can check if they're there in the time that you give her for screen time in when she's not at school. But you may need to be around her and to be there to give her like the 3 weeks that she needs to manage her impulse control
Yes,
for
it's been
checking
three
for this
weeks
person. Right. Right. So
Been
3 weeks,
already.
3 weeks, and repeating and reminding. Okay.
More specific.
You want to say it?
Well, a little more specific about it. It happens to be a boy, 12 years old, in which they seem to have made a connection, seemingly more than just friends. They
Right.
built together, and I'm like,
Right.
and
So
that's
then it's a
basically.
conversation about liking somebody more than a friend, and how those relationships begin and end. And you can let her know, hey, it sounds like this person was ready to end this relationship, and that's normal in relationships when we like somebody more than a friend. So now you're going to have a conversation about having, and which is normal between 9 and 11. They try that on for style, not all of them, but some of them, right? And in this age group between 9 and 11, they do call it liking somebody more than a friend. So now you as parents are in the task of helping her understand that it's highly possible that this young person decided that they were done with the pretend romance that they were having.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
All
Great.
righty, perfect. Okay, unmute yourself and ask me your question. Here you go. Hello. Adriana.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, yes.
I have a 9-year-old.
Wait, you muted yourself again. Unmute yourself. Can't hear you, Adriana. Okay.
Okay. I have a 9-year-old boy.
Wait, no, I was asking Adriana. Adriana, go ahead and unmute yourself. Hello?
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
I wasn't sure who you were talking.
Yes.
Okay. Aranza, my daughter is 10 years old, and she's like avoiding time to sleep as long as she can, like asking for water, going to pee, or anything that she finds. Um, and also that's the time for her to talk with me about her emotions, because it's the time like she's aware of all of that.
Yes.
The problem is that one at the time I'm already tired to talk about that, and I'm not in my best mood to discuss emotions and help her. And also that extends because at that time it's already like 9 and 11 or so. How can I manage that?
Okay, so it's really super normal for children to want to talk about their emotions and their concerns at bedtime. Very normal. Why? Because just like us, when they lay their head on the pillow, that's when the brain starts giving them a list of all the things that, that they're worried about, that they thought about for the day. And, that's the why, why they do it, right? So,
Okay.
so to me, it's really important to make that time for her. So, but I understand, Lina, my God, all I want to do is at that time is have a tea and watch some stupid television show. I don't want to talk about the, the trials and tribulations of a 9, 10-year-old. So since she's been doing it a lot, and since she's been doing the I agüita, I this, I that, just name and claim it, right? So say to her, Aranza, baby, I know that for a bunch of weeks you've been wanting to talk to me at bedtime. So how about if we kind of, talk earlier, right? So then maybe tell her, let's start talking at 8:30, and then we kind of do 15 minutes. 15 minutes is more than enough, by the way. 15 to 20 minutes, and then you can get your water and you could put on your pajamas. So but it's important because especially children between 9 and 11, if they're pushing to talk to you, I don't want you to miss that window,
Mhm.
because the
Mhm.
window is very small. Like come
Okay.
13, that's going to shift. So tell her that you recognize it. Be honest with her about, I'm amor, at 9 o'clock my brain goes a little bit brain dead, so let's do a little bit earlier. Maybe have tea with her at 8:30. Maybe make it a ritual.
Okay.
But I don't want, and then every night say, hoy vamos a hacer los 20 minuticos o no. Si me dices que no, no hablamos, and then give her the option.
Okay.
Okay. And then, but don't miss the spot. And yes, she's doing it before bedtime because that's when her brain is making her think about these scary things. And then she's doing what she's supposed to do, which is using mommy in a beautiful way for the solution. So,
Yeah.
good and bad. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Perfect.
you.
Coming up. Okay, Christina, what's your question? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Christina. No? No question? Okay. Miss Flavia, go ahead and unmute yourself. What's your question for
Hey,
them?
Lina.
Hi.
So my daughter is 8, turned 8 in June. So almost 8.5. And she wants to be an actress, but she doesn't want to just be an actress. She wants to be a famous actress. And as you know, with kids this age, the immediate gratification is what they're looking for. So I told her the best path to be an actress is you do theater, you perform in plays, and then from there, that's your launching pad. But
Right.
she wants to be famous now. So
Right.
she wants a YouTube channel
Right.
where she can express herself, and she wants followers. And she says she's okay with negative comments. You just ignore the haters. And I'm trying to explain to her the difference between acting for as a profession and for the thrill of acting versus fame.
Right.
And also how YouTube is not an appropriate venue for her to expose herself. I'm not comfortable,
Right.
but I'm met with arguments and I'm having a hard time getting through. So maybe you can give me language that I can use to
So
help her.
your messaging is 100% appropriate. Her her negative emotional response is also appropriate.
Yeah.
And also, YouTube does not allow anybody to be on their channel if they're not 13.
Right. And I told her you can be in my channel as a private video.
Right.
But so that we share the link with those we want. But she wants anonymous viewers. She wants Ryan's World for,
So the answer is no. And you allow her to be frustrated and disappointed.
Okay. But I just wanted to give her like a reason that felt, I don't want to, I know, but it feels like I have other reasons, right? I don't want to expose her to like perverts that I don't know who they are and things like that.
Tell her it's health and safety. And And what she wants to do is called an influencer, and nobody's going to give her money to be an influencer when she's 8.
I know it's just hard because there are children who have become famous in this venue, so it feels attainable.
Yes, and
but I don't even want to plant the seed as something, healthy that you like aspire to be.
Well, here's the piece, influencers is a new career.
I know.
And that is part of like the technology world, but you have given her your reasons. It's about health and safety, and it's one, you're following the standards of the platform, which is 13-year-olds cannot have a channel. YouTube does not recommend anybody under 13 to use their platform.
Right.
So that's and you're following the safety standards of the actual platform.
Right.
2, you believe in perseverance, and you believe in responsibility and working hard, and getting likes is not under what you wish for her to do. If she wants to do that when she's 18 and out of your tutelage and care, she can do that, but not at 8. And then you, mommy, tolerate her complete disillusionment.
Yeah. No, I'm okay with the tolerating part. It didn't feel to me like I explained to her, like it didn't feel to me like I gave her a good enough reason, because I'm hiding some of the reasons, which is like a sexual concern too.
Right. And by the way, that's not even a concern to me as a developmental person, right? The concern, the biggest concern is her brain obsessing over the likes, and she doesn't have the cognition or the control to not, because what happens for a child that's under 16 actually is that that pleasure of getting that thumbs up or that becomes like obsessive, because they yet have the impulse control to not go look for that
right.
And that's why she's asking for it, because it's a great way to get the fix of people loving you.
Right. I think it's a combination of that and just having a forum for acting, like an excuse to do videos and stuff.
Right.
And so I'm just telling her that she can work on that, but the way we share is not in an open channel.
You share with friends and family. Correct. And that's it.
Okay.
But to me, it's more about nobody under 13 can handle the pressure of the like.
No, even 40, Lina, even 40.
Yes. So they don't have, it's like putting a child that just learned to walk on the side of a hill. They don't have the ability to not look at the software over and over and over again.
Right.
See how many likes they've gotten. They just don't have the cognition. And that's why the big platforms tell you, and I would tell everybody, I know that YouTube is really popular, but I would keep kids off of YouTube if they're under 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's hard. I know that I'm talking to a wall, but I know a lot of you already broken that rule. But it's a really hard platform. It's a really difficult platform. So, okay.
Thank you so much.
No, my pleasure. Hang in there. Okay, so last question that I will take. Okay, Ms. Lorena, you can ask me your question now. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Hi.
Yes, hi. I have an 11-year-old, and I'm sorry, 11. 9-year-old, a boy. And when he gets frustrated, he starts like screaming and kind of like jumping. And I mean, I get scared because it's weird. I mean, that action, I just don't know why. It doesn't happen like so often. Or sometimes when you tell him something that he doesn't like to hear, he gets the same action, like very, I don't know how to explain it, like frustrated, but that's what he shows, like he starts screaming and like jumping until throwing things, not at me or at other people. It's just himself, so I don't know what. I mean, I'm a little concerned.
Right. And how often does this happen? Like every once in a while? Is it
No,
with
once in
a
a while.
particular thing?
It has happened more often than you think, because let's say I tell him, Alex, you gotta do this, you gotta do the homework and this and that, and he gets mad, like that. And that's how he reacts.
Okay,
So
so again, like if at 9, like that behavior is pretty typical for children between 5 and 8, right?
correct.
A child 9 and older, I still expect them to get frustrated, but not full body, right? Not
Okay.
because full body is more the realm of like a bit of a physical nervous system manifestation of him not being able to tolerate the emotion that's flowing through his body.
Correct. Okay.
So um so my recommendation to you is when he's calm, in moments when he's calm, at bedtime, in the car, at mealtime, you can ask him, hey buddy, tell me, do you think that you can make that frustration feeling smaller? How does it feel in your body, when you get it? Stop telling him, don't do it so big, pero por qué tanto, pero por qué no es tan. Stop doing that and start saying to him, what happens? Help me understand what happens in your body. And your child may tell you, I can't control it, mommy. If he
Okay.
tells you I can't control it, mommy, then it is an opportunity to perhaps get an occupational therapy evaluation
Okay.
and have an occupational therapist check if he's having some form of like sensory processing, nervous system processing difference, right? So
Okay.
I would get an evaluation with an occupational therapist. If he's just like, hi, that's just you know how I express myself, and especially if he like does that and then he goes and does the homework, and if it takes like 3 minutes and then he goes and does the homework, it's like whatever, right? Just like keep to the boundary. But if it's like 20 minutes, then and he tells you, well, that's just the way I am, and and yeah, I'm just making you feel bad, then it is more of a conversation of like, okay, let's start working on making that smaller, on thinking about, you don't have to make me feel bad when you feel bad, and then it just becomes more about managing the frustration. So and it's and anything, and not, and when he's in the middle of losing it, please don't say to him, ya para no más, stop talking. Just get quiet and start breathing. You breathe.
Okay.
Don't talk to him. Don't say another thing, especially if you tell him es tiempo de hacer la tarea and he gets up and he's screaming and walking away while going to go do the homework, right? You stay quiet, you breathe, and then when he's calm and you're calm, you can talk. When we talk to children, when they're in the middle of screaming like that, again, he's older. So there's a part of me, like my professional antenna goes, bleep, this little person probably needs a little bit of an evaluation. When we talk to them, we make the brain even more overstimulated. Remember what I said before. Feelings are cognition, what we think and hear, and somatic, what is physical in our body. And for some children, it's really hard to tolerate that physical aspect of the body. Okay?
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, everybody. So this is it. This is what I do. This is what you can do with me in other ways. So I love to tell you guys, sometimes I answer your questions, but I give you more questions than answers. So if you want to spend an hour and a half with me alone talking about your family, your child, their behavior, and you want to walk away with why of the behavior, a solution to the behavior, and a plan for the behavior, please call us and or visit the website and schedule a parenting consultation. It's just like what I did right now, but for an hour and a half, just for you by yourself. If you want to have me in your back pocket, in your purse, in your phone, I highly recommend joining my online parenting support subscription. It's a monthly subscription, which has a weekly call where I answer questions, a private area of the website where everything that I could have imagined that is possible for each age group is available for you for your answers, and also a private Facebook group page where you can ask your questions and your questions will be answered. And of course, I think for some of you, you found out about this Zoom call from social media, and some of you are in my email list. So follow me on social media. I give out a lot of free information constantly. Go to the blog. I'm sure that, you know, next week when there's some time off, you could just read a bunch of blogs and get information about you and your children. And thank you so much. Go to the events page and you will see when I will have the next question and answer for this age group. The next one will be in January of 2021 because I'm taking December off from the free Zoom questions, but I'll see you there. So bye.